Work table! If you missed my 2022 and 23 update videos, one of the big things I've been doing is remodeling my room. And one of the biggest steps for that is putting in an actual work table here. Let's go! Woo! Hello, YouTube! I'm Davis. It's been a hot minute since I've uploaded as predicted, but we are back and we're starting off with a bang. This is something that has been in the works for years. I have needed this so badly, and not only will it be useful for projects and stuff, but I will also be transitioning to using this as my main filming location. So let's get into how I built this incredible addition to my room. So if you've been with the channel for a while, you might remember that my pegboard looked something like this. But I got rid of all that crap, and now we've got a blank space to work with. Now I have actually modeled out this entire room in Autodesk Inventor, and I've used that for several purposes, but one of the biggest ones is figuring out how to design this thing. I gave you a little teaser of this in my 2022 update video, but here's a little more in-depth look at the plan. Ultimately, I'd like to just leave the pegboard where it is on the wall, and then just use a big piece of plywood with the exact same 2x4 foot dimensions as the pegboard for the main work surface. And then to maximize the space around the table and on the floor, I can mount it directly to the wall and then put the legs at a diagonal with the bottom just wedged into the trim here, but making sure everything is drilled into studs, of course. And the model here is accurate to the measurements I took for where the studs are on the wall. I then found these great drawer systems on Amazon, and I had to get these in the model, so you know what time it is now. It's time to make an unnecessarily detailed CAD model. So now that we've got these looking gorgeous, we can just plop them in here and make the table just the right height so that they fit perfectly flush with the pegboard. Now, horizontally, these don't actually fill up the whole back wall, but if I smush them to one side so they're all nice and flush here, that leaves a nice little space for a cutout here. So the plan is to have just a big hole in the table with a mini garbage bag in the bottom that I can just sweep trash into from the whole table. And then behind that, I want to have at least 4 power switches to control things like lights and power tools. I found these little switch blocks on Amazon, as well as a power strip that should fit them perfectly, as shown by yet another unnecessarily detailed CAD model. This seems safe, right? And each one of the switch blocks is going to go to one of these right angle adapters so that it can be pushed as far back as possible. And I'll also have a semicircle cut out in the very back so that I can thread cables through it, and one of those is going to go directly from the power strip to this power hub, which I can mount to the wall to be more accessible for non-permanent things. That looks like a plan to me! Now the first step here is going to be that main cutout, so let's just screenshot that from the model, put it into GIMP to remove the background and make the outline black, then put that into Google Docs so that I can make sure to print it at the right dimensions, which I can just take from the model here, and transfer that number over to the dimensions on the image. And there we go! Now let's cut some things! That's actually a really nice curve. With the main cutout now complete, I can draw out the radius I want for the corners, because I really want them to be curved so I don't accidentally destroy myself on them every 5 seconds, and I can just cut those out with a jigsaw, finish it up with the rotary tool, and some sandpaper. So much sawdust. Something else I mentioned in my 2022 update was the fact that my 3D printer needs work again. Hopefully it'll be easier this time. Thankfully, it was in fact easier this time. If you're wondering what I mean and how it went last time, you can watch the video I made on that where it was such an ordeal that I made an entire music video to recount everything. But for now, I can finally use it to print the mechanism for the trash bag under the table. I went through a few iterations of this mechanism, but finally ended up with something that just slides in beautifully, slides out beautifully, and you can just put a little doggy bag in here and wrap around the edges, and that just fits perfectly, and it's amazing and I love it. So let's start assembling some things on the actual table.
It was at this moment that he knew.
Wait, frick. I didn't mean to go all the way through. Future Davis here, just interjecting to say that mistake did actually make it to the final version because I couldn't be bothered to fix it. Back to you, past Davis, you idiot. And that, kids, is why we measure everything to the 10th of a millimeter. Look how beautiful that is. Oh, I love CAD modeling. That was terrifying. Now that pretty much everything is in place, I want to just test the strength on this thing, so I did a bit of a weight test to make sure the table itself is not the weak point here. I think it's safe to say that is a success. With that done, it's finally time to move on to the legs. I'm just going to use dowel rods for these, but the ends need to be cut at a very precise length and at very exact angles. And there are tools that would make those cuts very easy, but I don't have them. I have a jigsaw and a 3D printer. What do you do when all you have is a jigsaw and a 3D printer? You 3D print a jig for the jigsaw. And now, here's a time lapse of me cutting with a hacksaw for 10 minutes straight because it didn't want to play nice with the jigsaw for some reason. Yes, I also tried using the hacksaw blade adapter that I made for the jigsaw to cut through a toaster at Chick-fil-A, which you can watch that video if you're curious how it went, but this thing just was not having it. Anyway, this worked out okay in the end, so whatever. Not too shabby. Now it's time to mark some things, drill some holes, and get this whole thing on the wall. And now, please join me in getting every telescopic thing I own to use as a jack to hold up the table as I mark the holes and get stuff mounted and everything. Because since I'm mounting it directly to the wall, it basically needs to be suspended mid-air so that I can mark the holes. So, DIY suspension rig or whatever could be called. And now, quite possibly the trickiest maneuver I will pull for this entire project. Oh, didn't think that through. Okay. Okay, I hesitantly say we've got this temporarily in place. Oh, I forgot to mark the edge. Eventually, this is going to be a longboard, but for now I'm using it as a giant straight edge. Alright, question number 1, did the measurement hold up? Answer, absolutely freaking not. That's not even close. Yeah, that's still not anywhere close to level, is it? Oh, it is actually close. Alright, so then next question. Do the measurements to the pegboard line up? Because that's actually more important. Close. Closer. Get rid of this entirely. At least in theory, I should only need 3 points of contact. Come on, where am I going? Oh, frick. Well, either the tape measure's lying or the level is. Yep, it's the level. You know what would be a better test? Making sure this is square. Perfect. Okay, so in theory, that should be exactly in position. Oh, it came off the mark. Once I make sure the table is actually in position, making sure it's perfectly centered and perfectly level, I can mark those holes in the brackets where I need to drill into the wall. So now the tricky part, because I could drill those just in place, and those two would be fine, except for that one, because the power strip is in the way. So I think I'm going to need to place the brackets first, then put the table back on top, and screw in the brackets from the bottom. Yeah! First order of beeswax. Let's get this back on the sawhorses where it belongs. A bit more stable. Yeah, boy! And now we drill some holes. Alright, moment of truth number 1. Success! Now the real question is, do the brackets still line up with the table?
It was at this moment that he knew.
Note to self, that is not load bearing yet. Frick, 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 frick. Back up. Okay. Shoot. Alright,
A few moments later.
Okay, so update. That was incredibly sketchy. But I took this back off, bent the brackets bent the bracket black into bent the brackets back into place. When you say it right, that's got a rhythm to it. Bent the brackets back into place, bent the brackets back into place, bent the brackets back into place, bent the brackets back into place. Anyway, bottom line, I fixed it. So now we've got redundant supports here. I probably should have done in the first place. And without further ado, let's do some legs. So we already kind of had a moment before where things went catastrophically wrong, but this is another one of those moments. Like, if things are gonna go wrong, they're gonna go wrong now and they're gonna go wrong big. That's right, I'm about to do a weight test. So let's first make sure it can hold its own weight, because that'd be good. Okay, so far so good. Feels pretty solid. Oh, okay. This stupid floor is making it so hard to listen and see what's creaking, because, like, what if I do it this way? There, that's less creaky. It feels solid enough to sit on, I'm gonna be honest, but I don't trust my work enough to do it. Also, I specifically lined up the legs so that they'd be going into the studs, but it didn't feel like they went into the studs. I'm not sure if the studs, like, reach down that far, which wouldn't make any sense, but I don't know anything about building houses, so. Alright, well. I know I can hold most of my weight, at least. I'd say I put maybe like 70 pounds of my weight on that. So, bottom line, it'll be able to hold pretty much any project I put on it. Still too scared to sit on it, but maybe after working with it for a while I'll build up the courage. So yeah, it's in place! Next step is to start populating it and plugging in the electronics and maybe organizing the pegboard. Woohoo! The hard part is done! So as I'm plugging things in here, the idea is I can have stuff on these switches like my jigsaw where it's always plugged in, but if the switch is off, I can pull the trigger and it won't do anything. When I turn the switch on, now we have a jigsaw. Same goes for my rotary tool where it won't do anything until I turn the switch on. And now drum'll go burr! I can also just leave the tool on and use the back power switch as the main switch if I want. Probably won't do that very much, but it's a thing I can do. Finally, we can stick the trash bag in, which is looking lovely. We can put the drawer systems in place, and those are just perfectly flush. And things are finally starting to look like the model. Now, the intro I recorded in this video and this outro were both recorded in the future, so you can probably tell this is a little further along than I got in this video, but I'm actually going to leave it there, and you can see how I got here in the next part, where I add some more features, finishing touches, all that good stuff. But before that, I actually used this table in its only semi-finished state to cut out a deck for the longboard, finally! Oh, I've been talking about this for ages, and I'm finally gonna get that video out, so get excited! Woo! It is so good to be back making videos again. Hopefully the next one will come out a little sooner than 5 months. And until then, make something, sing something, hug someone. I'll see you next time! Nope, it's the future and I still haven't worked up the courage yet. Psst! Hey! You remember that website I keep talking about? It's live! It's not done yet, but if you've watched this far, you deserve a sneak peek. DavisSturks.com. I'm working on the shop too, and it'll be done soon. Let's go!
Come with the hacksaw with the Neanderthal.
If you missed my 2020... I'm awake. Nope, I don't like it. Project yes, humans no.